Buckle up, because today we're going to tackle a real mind bender.
Oh, sounds fun.
It is. We're diving deep into Hegel and his idea that everything evolves.
Everything.
Not just like, species and stuff, but ideas, societies. Isn't like how we understand the world. So,
I'm intrigued.
So at the heart of this whole everything evolves thing is this thing called the dialectic. You familiar with that?
Vaguely, yeah. Isn't it like some kind of back and forth thing?
Exactly.
Like a debate almost.
Yeah.
Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Right.
You got it. So imagine you're, I don't know, learning to ride a bike.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Your first wobbly attempts, that's the thesis. Your initial idea of how to ride.
Right.
Then come the inevitable falls, the scrapes, the frustration.
The antithesis, challenging that first idea.
Bingo. But you don't just give up, right?
No way.
You get back on, you figure out what you're doing wrong, adjust, try again. And eventually, cruising down the street, no hands even.
Boom, synthesis, the new, improved skill, combination of the original idea and all those lessons learned.
And then maybe you decide to learn how to, pop a wheelie.
New thesis. Ah, exactly. And the cycle continues. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis, driving evolution.
Whether it's bike riding or, scientific breakthroughs.
Or political revolutions even.
So how about we see a dialectic in action on, a societal level?
Sure. Let's take monarchy, for example. For ages, it was the way to govern in Europe.
The dominant thesis.
Right. But then people started questioning it, demanding more rights, freedoms.
The antithesis kicking in.
Yeah. Leading to revolutions and the rise of democracy.
And the synthesis. What emerges from that clash?
New forms of government that blend elements of both. Think like constitutional monarchies.
Right.
Republics with elected leaders. All those reflect a synthesis.
Blending the old and the new.
Yep.
Okay, so societies evolve. But what about our understanding of the world? Does science evolve in this Hegelian way?
Absolutely. Take physics, for example. Newton's laws were revolutionary, right? Groundbreaking thesis.
Yeah, it totally changed our understanding of the universe.
But then along comes Einstein. Relativity challenges those long-held ideas, leading to a more nuanced understanding of gravity in the cosmos.
So even the seemingly solid laws of physics are subject to change.
It's like everything we know is just a stepping stone to something even more complex.
Mind-blowing. But it's also kind of exciting, right? This constant evolution of knowledge.
Totally. And here's the thing. Hegel didn't think this process was random. He believed there was a guiding force behind it all, something he called the absolute spirit.
Okay, the absolute spirit, that sounds intense.
It is. Think of it as like the underlying consciousness or intelligence driving the universe toward greater self-awareness. Not a god, but a force, manifesting through the evolution of everything, from our minds to entire societies.
So are we all just like pieces of a giant cosmic puzzle evolving towards some ultimate understanding?
Now that is a fascinating question, isn't it?
It is, and a perfect place to leave our listeners hanging.
For now.
We'll be back after a quick break to delve deeper into this cosmic dance and how it plays out in our everyday lives. Stay tuned.
Can't wait.
And we're back, still grappling with this whole everything evolves thing.
It's a big one, for sure.
Before the break, we were talking about the absolute spirit, that we're all part of this cosmic puzzle evolving towards some ultimate understanding.
Right.
But, how does that actually play out in our everyday lives?
It's more present than you might think. Think about how you approach a problem. Any problem, let's say writer's block.
Ooh, yeah, I've been there.
That feeling of being stuck, that's your thesis, your starting point.
Okay, I get it. So then what's the antithesis?
It's when you decide to break free, trying new techniques, maybe. Or taking a break. You're challenging that initial state of stuckness.
You're actively pushing against it.
Yeah.
And that leads to
the synthesis. You break through the block, a new creative solution emerges.
combining those initial ideas with the lessons learned from the struggle.
Exactly. It's the dialectic in action, right there in your everyday life.
So even our little struggles, the stuff we deal with every day, it's all part of this bigger evolution?
That's how Hegel saw it. Personal growth as a microcosm of the ground scheme.
Wow. That's kind of comforting, actually. Makes those everyday frustrations seem a bit less frustrating.
Right.
But if everything's always evolving, where's it all headed? Did Hegel think there was like an end point?
That's the million-dollar question. Some folks interpret Hegel as believing in a utopia, like a state of perfect reason and freedom.
Interesting.
Others see it more as an infinite process of becoming. No final destination, just constant evolution.
So we're on this wild ride, but there might not even be a final stop?
Maybe not, and that's what makes it exciting. Always potential for growth, for discovery. The journey itself is what matters.
I like that. But Hegel wasn't the only one thinking about this stuff, right? Other philosophers had their own takes on evolution.
Oh yeah, tons. His ideas influenced so many thinkers. Some expanded on them, others challenged them. Take Marx, for example.
Right, Marx, he was all about economics and class struggle.
He was heavily influenced by Hegel's dialectic, but he applied it to economic systems instead of, like, pure ideas.
So instead of thesis, antithesis, synthesis, they like feudalism, capitalism, communism.
Exactly. Communism being that final synthesis in Marx's view.
Right. And then you have someone like Nietzsche. Totally different vibe.
Nietzsche questioned the whole idea of progress.
Really?
He saw history as more cyclical than linear.
So while Hegel saw this forward march towards reason and freedom, Nietzsche was like, nah, it's all just going to repeat itself.
Something like that. Nietzsche was wary of grand narratives. He focused on individual will, instinct, emotion, all that messy stuff.
It's wild how one idea, this everything evolves concept, can lead to so many different interpretations.
It is, yeah. That's the power of philosophy, right? It sparks endless debate, exploration.
Totally. But before we get too lost in the philosophical weeds, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. This idea that personal growth reflects the bigger evolutionary picture.
It's a powerful idea, isn't it? Our personal struggles, our triumphs, all connected to something much larger.
It's like every time we overcome a challenge or learn something new, we're adding a tiny piece to this giant cosmic puzzle.
And that raises a pretty interesting question.
If our personal growth is part of this bigger evolution, does that mean like our individual actions actually have an impact on the world?
It's a question worth thinking about, that's for sure. If we're all connected, part of this evolving absolute spirit, like Hegel said, then it makes sense that our choices, our actions, even our thoughts, they all contribute.
So it's not just about watching this evolution happen. We're actually shaping it.
Exactly. We're active participants, which is kind of empowering, but also, a little scary. It means we have a responsibility, right? To engage with the world thoughtfully, try to understand things better, and contribute in a positive way.
It's almost like we're all, co-creating reality, each playing our part in this massive, ongoing symphony of becoming.
I like that.
But we've been talking a lot about ideas, consciousness. What about, like, the actual concrete stuff in the world? Institutions, governments. How did Hegel see those fitting into this whole evolution thing?
That's where his concept of the state comes in. He believed that the state, the ideal state, is like the embodiment of reason and freedom in the human world.
So not just laws and rules and all that, there's a deeper meaning there for Hegel.
Oh yeah, he saw it as the culmination of the dialectical process, like a synthesis of what individuals want and the need for a just, ordered society. It's where we can all work together, strive for more freedom, justice, understanding.
I can already hear people saying, hold on, hasn't that idea of the state being all about reason been used to justify some pretty messed up stuff throughout history?
That's a fair point. And yeah, Hegel's ideas have definitely been twisted and misused. But it's important to remember that Hegel himself was a big believer in individual rights and freedoms.
He wasn't about blind obedience to authority then.
No, he saw it as a dynamic relationship. The state and its citizens, both accountable to reason and justice.
So more like citizens working with a state that actually upholds those values.
Exactly. And for Hegel, the state, just like everything else, it evolves too. It has to adapt, reform to meet the needs of the people. And it's our job to hold it accountable to those ideas.
That's a powerful message, especially these days with everything going on, climate change, social inequality, all of it. It's like a call to action. To get involved, shape the future.
It is. And I think even amidst all that, Hegel would say there's hope. That dialectical process, that engine of evolution, it's always at work, pushing us toward greater understanding, greater freedom, a better world.
That's a good note to end on. So if we had to sum up Hegel's everything evolves idea in one takeaway for our listeners, what would it be?
Embrace change. Don't be afraid of the tough stuff, the disagreements. Those are opportunities, not obstacles. We're all part of something much bigger. And even our smallest actions, they matter. They contribute.
Beautifully put. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into Hegel's world. We've covered a lot. The dialectic, the absolute spirit, even the state. But the conversation doesn't end here, right? Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep that curiosity alive. Because as Hegel might say, the dialectic never sleeps.
And who knows what incredible things we'll create together as we continue to evolve.
That's all the time we have for today, folks, but the journey continues. Keep those minds open, stay curious, and remember, everything evolves.